if you are in your late 20s or in your 30s and you feel detached from your life, your work, and from overall system, that video is for you. See, odds are you probably did what you're supposed to. School, work, put in your time, accept responsibility, work hard, do the things you're supposed to. But the final result, no real money, no real freedom, and often no real respect. You know that typical purgatory of life is moving along, but you're stuck. Neither here nor there. You're not living, you're existing. And you don't necessarily understand why. See, interestingly enough, Zoomers who catch a lot of flack actually figure something out subconsciously. Problem is, their execution is not the greatest, so this is something we have to work on. But right now I will walk you through what Zoomers figure out correctly and how you can adapt it for your life in order to get unstuck. And the biggest thing is Zoomers' relationship with a job. They don't confuse jobs with identity, because one of essentially how us as men function. I'm a plumber, I'm an electrician, I'm a finances professional, I'm a soldier, I'm a fighter, whatever I am. But naturally, we extend that identity of our skills into a specific company. Zoomers don't do that. They realize job doesn't mean loyalty, simply because you don't receive loyalty. There is zero reason for you to give a loyalty, especially considering how replaceable we all are, especially right now. Also, job doesn't mean identity. If you're a software engineer working for Google, your job will try to brainwash you into we're Googlers or whatever the actual name is. You're a software engineer who just happened to work for Google. Why? Because if Google finds a way to save 17 cents on a dollar by outsourcing or optimizing with AI, guess what? You will not be with Google anymore. Also, very important, probably the most important, job doesn't mean meaning in life. Because us as men, we must have a goal. We must have that straight line we're going to. But with a job and whatever tasks, goals, targets you receive, it's fake. It's fake because whoever is a big boss draws a fantastic picture with achievement, respect, money, but in reality, you might draw a road for you in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Tomorrow, you're out. That's that easy. And this is what Zoomers really get correct. We don't overinvest. We have their healthy, selfish interest in mind, and that's mandatory, otherwise you will be for a rude awakening if you haven't. Another big point I briefly touched on, Zoomers understand replaceability and how it really works in the real world, while older men often think it doesn't exist or pretend so, which is funny because while we're much more replaceable right now, I'm pretty sure you heard or even seen plenty of stories of older generations like boomers or Gen Xers who got replaced after years of service easily. Thousands of those stories. Sure, right now it might be more common, but again, even older generation experienced it. Why? I still assume, and this is what we are taught. I'm in my mid-30s, so this is what we ingrain with school, from parents, from the overall system. And we believe what? Replaceability doesn't exist. Reality is, and this is what Zoomers get subconsciously, companies don't care. You're replaceable, you're just whatever number is your employee number in Excel. Layoffs are random. Well, not necessarily random, it feels random to us, because guess what? And it happened to me. Might have happened to you already. And if not, there's a high chance. Next thing you know, you are locked out of everything, with no reason. And then you receive an email, okay, you're departing from a company, some typical HR bullshit. And also very big, effort doesn't equal security. because you can work your ass off without getting compensated. Unpaid overtime while working thinking about a problem. Yesterday, the day you show up to work, you you show up just to collect your stuff because you're out. Easy, easy. Now this is big, and this is what leads us to being stuck. Zoomers don't overinvest emotionally, but you did. I know I did. You probably did too. Because we tend to invest emotionally to bosses because we think, okay, so boss, because subconsciously we're a smaller section of a tribe. We are moving together towards a common goal. The boss, especially if he is more or less polished and have some leadership qualities, he can get us into believing what, okay, we're doing a common goal. It's kind of like, hey, he's our dear leader, subconsciously, and we overinvest. While in reality, boss, all he does is he makes sure bosses above him are satisfied, and he collects whatever money he needs to get himself a Maserati. I mean, corporate family language, it's in, I'm not necessarily sure how it is in the rest of the world. In corporate America, it's getting ultra ridiculous, and we kind of see it. But again, it's not that obvious and that autistic in all of the places, especially if bosses, if HR are marginally smarter than someone with a IQ of room temperature in Celsius. And the same goes for not internalizing work failure as a personal failure. And funny enough, separate topic, but failure doesn't necessarily mean it's something is wrong with you. Because often what I saw in my experience is I was set up for failure. Not given tools, not given proper directions, following what I was told, and despite that, still crashing and burning. So often it's not even your failure. You just failed because you were set up to fail. But men who are being stuck, that might be you, that was me. We over-identify. Plus, loyalty and honor, which are great qualities, play a mean joke with us. Because we go from having those fantastic qualities, which must be dispensed to the correct people. We just give it automatically. I mean, we see those people 8 hours a day and we're moving together, allegedly. But in reality, it just allows us to put more effort for less compensation. And this is where overcommitted and under-rewarded comes into play. We overinvest mentally and think, okay, let's do it for a team, etc., etc. Next thing you know, the team drops you, and in 2 weeks, no one remembers you are there, despite years of service. That's a reality. Now here, very important piece, what Zoomers do get wrong. Because Zoomers disengage. We step back, but what is next? Separate topic, but you know the typical stereotype, oh, you're just staring in your phone, or you're staring at your laptop. Good. Question is what you're doing in your laptop. Are you just mindlessly scrolling? Are you playing video games, or are you actually building something? That's a huge distinguished difference. The attachment to what architecture, you must take responsibility for your life, and you must be an architect of your life. What's the actual goal? I'm not saying create a goal for the next 5-10 years. It doesn't work. You know the typical draw a huge detailed map of where you will be in 1 year, 2 years. Well, first of all, it doesn't work like this. And second of all, life stops being an adventure and it becomes a series of checkpoints. But still, you need to have an overall direction. Not a step-by-step plan, but direction. And know where you want to be, roughly. It doesn't exist. It's many Zoomers just take a step back and just chill. You're not going to create anything like this. And irony instead of responsibility, because we were sold the responsibility. But we must first take responsibility for our own lives. Instead of getting offloaded responsibility for building somebody else's dream. And frankly, this is what's going on. If you need to exist in corporate America in your job, it's fine. We all need to survive. there must be a plan in place how to get out. Not just making fun of it and making fun of another HR created pizza party just so company don't have to give everyone raise, we give everyone pizza. It's like, no. There must be a specific plan, specific action, not just making fun of the stupidity. It is stupid. What are we gonna do about it? Here is an important thing to realize and why we're much more stuck than Zoomers. Because again, youth. Someone who is young has much more ability to maneuver for a number of reasons, from more energy to having less responsibilities, less overheads. Often if we receive some outside support like from their parents or something, we have more time and more resources to maneuver. Opposite for us. Golden cage, you might or might not have a golden cage, because I mean some men our age bracket have golden cages, some are just barely scraping by, stuck either way. And pivoting cheaply is, again, move faster, move more efficiently, less resources. For us, you, me, many men of our age bracket, we already overinvested, because believe me, even just 4-year degree, that's a lot of investment. If you already started your path in a specific field, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, that's a long time. How can we drop it? Identity investment is what I said. It's imagine everything you have worked for just disappears. Specifically, your things where you think you're more or less valuable, like I don't know, your position in life, your middle manager just disappears. You're not just John. That's big. Fear of loss again. It's similar to sunk cost. You already put in time. If you stop or if you pivot, you lose what you work for. And social pressure is big, because what is permitted for 25-year-old is not permitted for 35-year-old. You know the typical, then if someone doesn't have it in like early 20s, it's like, it's okay, he's figuring stuff out. If we decide to go a totally different direction or start experimenting, people will look at us weird and say, hey, you're 35, why are you playing? And funny enough, often what I saw is even early to mid 20s still experience it. It's like, hey, you need to take your life seriously, stop playing around, go take a good reliable job. Now imagine if this is bad for some of the dudes in their early to mid 20s, how bad is that for us? Try to drop something as a 35 and try to experiment and with something unusual like online business and see how people will react. Will think you're like, bruh lost his bearings. This is big, and this is what keeps us stuck. Now here is the major lesson from all that what I was talking about. It's not be like Zoomers, because again, goal is not to take a step back, disengage, and live mindlessly. That's not the point. We must learn those lessons Zoomers subconsciously understood, and instead stop taking systems seriously and start taking your life seriously. Because we got sold the lie what the system we have around us, it's us. Like we're our job, no it's not. It just means to an end. Because job is just a tool. Just a tool to either learn skill, to make money, to all of the above. And money, fuel. Money is literally fuel for where you want to get. So don't overinvest in numbers. Invest in what those numbers will give you, which is freedom, because that's the purpose of money. Living a life where we want, the way we want, surrounded by people we want to be around us, period. And your self-identity must be one you created, because it's assembled from all of the different bits and pieces. Your childhood, your interest, your background, ethnic, religious, whatever it is, plus things you work on like your own interest, some things you study, some things you learn, and I'm not talking about school, I'm talking in general, in life. This is your true identity, not something which was given to you. And this is where it was given to you, you accept it. When it's getting taken, because optimization, automation, what are you going to do about it? You cannot, because it was given to you, it was taken. What you build cannot be taken from you, period. And big thing on responsibility. Responsibility and obedience are often confused, and it's might be on purpose, might be not, but we often think what was given to us by the overall system. School, job, career, whatever, military, whatever you are, because military is probably an even better example where it's kind of like the expectation is total obedience. You saying, sir, yes, sir, in a corporate environment or in whatever work environment of any sort, it means you just comply. You're compliant. That's it. And if something comes your way and you're like, you know what? This is bullshit. We're generally ashamed or you're not being responsible. No, we must be responsible for our life. But not for blindness and blind compliance. Here are some practical reframes for you, because you cannot just flip a switch and forget everything you learned, at least forget everything bad you learned, and start with a blank slate or with good things. You cannot. But here are some specific things for you to start ingraining. You must detach your identity from the income or from the overall profession in general, because it doesn't matter if you're just there for money or if you're there for skills. That just means to an end. And you take those means, because guess what, if you need to be stuck in corporate America for an hour, like, or corporate Canada, corporate Europe, corporate South America, corporate Asia, corporate Africa, corporate Australia, wherever you are stuck there for a specific reason, to build parallel paths. And essentially how it goes is you are here in doing the corporate stuff, because if you're in trades, guess what, I mean, it's the trades are getting all the rage with like, oh, you must go to trades. Trades are fantastic, especially if you make decent money. But in the end, it doesn't matter if you are stuck on a crew somewhere, cutting trees down in the middle of nowhere, Oregon, or if you're stuck in an office in a high rise in Portland, you're still stuck. So you do your deal, whatever it is. And while you're at it, you work on something else. You build a parallel path. And more you are separate topic, and it's more how would I say it, it's more personal on how to do in your specific situation, because I can recommend someone in corporate America to bring his second laptop to work and quietly work on his deal in a downtime, but you cannot necessarily do it if you're out in the field cutting trees down. You need to have different considerations. If you would like to work on something like that, book a free clarity call. We will take a detailed audit of what you have going on, narrow down where you want to get, and plan specific steps for you. But that's besides the point. You still need to find a way to build something parallelly, just so you can slowly check out of a corporate or whatever your form of slavery is and become your own man. Stop waiting for permission is big. It will take me to a whole new lecture about education and how we were taught to receive permission in any form, whatever it's a piece of paper, it's certifications, it's somebody else's confirmation. You don't need anyone's permission, period. Only your own permission. And even for me, for example, if I am talking to you and say, okay, so that specific thing is not going to work, that specific thing will work. From this point of view, I am your life auditor. I am not telling you what you should do. I'm telling you based on my experience, that's the best course of action. That is not necessarily going to work. You don't need anyone's permission to start whatever it is. Don't wait for permission, don't wait for perfect time. Don't wait for you to get your third bachelor's degree, don't wait for it. Also, one of the biggest reframes, which actually helps us detach better from a system, is reduce emotional dependence on the system. You're overinvested, harder to detach. And once you are, it's harder to detach. But if you don't detach, you eventually will get ripped out of a system because of next time it's going to be layoffs or anything else, and guess how you will feel? Betrayed. Spit in the face. And your feelings are wild. So before that happens, and it will eventually, period, Even if you don't see it specifically on the horizon, you have a feeling. You do have that feeling. Start detaching emotionally right now. And of course, start designing your own life. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Don't quit your job, take your last 5 grand and move to Bali to start a nomadic lifestyle. No, it's not gonna work like this. Because you actually need to start building something. That radical cut everything off, jump into something, it works in a very rare instances with a fair amount of luck. Or on Instagram. Reality. You need to start designing slowly by slowly. You build, you test. You see what works. You see what doesn't work. And then you slowly move into your own life you took some time to design. So the biggest takeaway for you from my long lecture is Zoomers, check out Water Plan. Odds are you stayed with no architecture of life. Neither of those things are good. Conscious design is what's good. Conscious design of your life. You realize what system is broken, frankly. It is broken, period. You also realize what you still needed to survive for now. But at the same time, you realize where is an alternative path. More than one person lives an alternative path, living the life they want. Living where they want. Having their life designed from where they live, type of apartment, house, type of car they drive. The boat is like, who am I to tell you? I don't really care about boats. If you care about boat, I mean, if you don't want to have a car, you want to have a boat. There are people who live like this. Why not you? And most important thing, because in the end, all of the material stuff doesn't matter without the people around us. Selecting people. Selecting people who enjoy, not tolerate. Whatever it's a questionable relative with a questionable affiliations, with a questionable worldviews. Or the wife, you just happen to have a wife because, I mean, she just came along. It's not a life design, it's separate topic. It's friend circle, building a family with everything. Conscious life design. This is what you must strive for. Andre out.